Alright guys, so we're done turns 43, both turns in 43, and actually we've just started January 44. Keynote here is that the German Air Force and forces pushed up through Iran and into Transcaucasia, taking that from the Soviets, but also activating Turkey, and Turkey switched sides and has now joined the Axis, giving a little bit of a boost to German morale. The Italians, however, actually, fleet is mostly wiped out, except the Polas, the surviving ship, attacking the American fleet. The Saratoga and the New Jersey, the Missouri, 3 capital ships went down by the attack of the Italian Air Force, or the Regia Aeronautica and the Marina. So they did good because they were able to kill 6 transports. These Americans now are stranded in the Middle East and trying to gobble up some territory while they're there. The Vittorio Veneto and the Singo are 2 Italian ships slowly making their way to help out the Japanese Navy. The Japanese Navy in itself is spread out throughout the map, still doing a lot of mopping up operations. We've landed in Australia, and we're just slowly building our Navy up against the American Navy that looks beautiful in the big blue sea. But obviously you can see all these ships are right there in Pearl Harbor, stacked up. The Japanese have moved on into Mongolia, and further north, obviously the Russians are, boxing themselves in there, waiting for or spoiling for an attack. But we also have the Japanese First Army with troops and heavy tanks. Further south, we have the 2nd and 3rd armies that are quite sizable, plus this other army up here in Shantung to help stop the communist threat. Italy is still firmly masters of Eastern Africa, and the Germans and the Americans are battling out in the west. From the Americans march across North Africa. And then of course we have the Italians that are still holding on to Cape Town. The Italians were good holding their victory point, but they just lost it when the Americans landed and took Cyprus. The American fleet decimated. There's not much on this side of the board, except there's British. Lots of British boats, and the French battleship, the Richelieu. The Dutch have fallen finally, a turn or 2 back. And the Germans themselves are starting to march into Russian territory, seizing Kiev. But there's a big spoiling battle here. You have army groups B and C, which is over there. Lots of mechanized units, lots of army goodies, and you can see all the red ships there. Lots of mechanized heavy armors, Tigers, Panzer Grenadiers, but the Russians are no slouch either. They got huge forces in this area, plus right there they still have their navy intact. So yeah, all in all, this could be a fun little battle. But the Germans have started building strategic rockets and started to use them against the Russians. But over here too, the coastal gun and fortifications are starting to be built on the Atlantic Wall, but Germany's more worried about Russia at this point, more so than the British. Britain has been decimated by bombing, and strategic rockets now are going to start heading on over to Britain. Britain doesn't have much money because of the convoy raiding, and we still, in 1944, have a German U-boat presence in the Atlantic. All in all, we'll have to see what happens in the upcoming turn.